November 4th, 1991, 4:35 a.m. Off the Canary Islands, a 68-year-old billionaire is pacing the deck of his yacht, the Lady Ghislaine, named after his favorite daughter. He's worth $1.9 billion, owns the Daily Mirror, runs 400 companies, has politicians on speed dial. By sunrise, he's dead. Naked, floating in the Atlantic. No splash, no witnesses, just scratches on his neck, 400 million pounds missing from employee pensions, and one last phone call. There's something I need to tell you. Heart attack? Murder? Or did the man who stole from 32,000 retirees finally meet a conscience? No one knows, but his collapse? That was just the beginning. Because here's the thing about power. It doesn't die. It changes hands. Do you sip on Chateau Lafite, flip through The Economist, or shop at Walmart? If you do, then here's something you probably don't realize. You've already brushed against power. Not just any power. The kind that doesn't just make money, but shapes the world. The Rothschilds, $1.2 trillion family net worth at peak. The Waltons, $225 billion today. The Rockefellers, $10.3 billion current family net worth, $400 billion peak adjusted. These families didn't just grow rich, they became architects of influence, builders of empires. They changed how industries work, how governments move, and even how you live your life. But here's the thing. Not all empires last. Some crumble under scandal, others quietly fade into history, and some, they leave behind whispers, questions, conspiracies. We're about to explore the 5 families who dominate the world of finance, commerce, and power. Let's start with the family that practically invented modern finance, the Rothschilds. Picture this: Frankfurt, Germany in the year 1744. A man named Mayer Amschel Rothschild is born. Fast forward to the 1760s, Mayer is running a small coin dealing shop. To anyone walking by, it looks ordinary. But Mayer? He's anything but. But this mere coin dealer would one day rule the world. Mayer's early life was marked by poverty and struggle. However, his association to the Hanoverian dynasty and Prince William of Hesse opened doors to the world of finance. By the 1790s, he's already established himself as a trusted financial advisor to the German aristocracy. In 1798, Mayer sends his 5 sons to Europe's financial capitals: London, Paris, Vienna, Naples, and Frankfurt. This move would change the entire course of history. The Rothschilds created something revolutionary: a financial network that allows them to transfer money across borders without moving physical gold. This network becomes the backbone of modern banking. The Rothschilds' influence extends beyond finance. They've been involved in railroads, mining, healthcare, even technology, and yes, you've probably brushed against their influence without even knowing it. Let's talk about Waterloo, the Battle of 1815 that decided the fate of Europe. Legend has it, Nathan Mayer Rothschild, based in London, gets news of Napoleon's defeat a full day before the British government. Using this intel, he manipulates the London stock market, buying government bonds at rock-bottom prices before their value skyrockets. Some call it a myth. Others call it financial genius. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain. By the mid-1800s, the Rothschilds were the wealthiest family in the world, funding wars, governments, and industries. They didn't pick sides, they funded both sides. During the Crimean War, 1853 to 1856, they financed France, ensuring their influence no matter the outcome. Today, the Rothschilds' influence is quieter but still significant. The family continues to own Chateau Lafite Rothschild, one of the world's most prestigious wine estates. For more than a decade, they were the second largest shareholder in the Economist Group, owning a 26.9% stake until selling it in 2026 to Canadian billionaire Stephen J. R. Smith and his family holding company, Smith Financial. Through the media, they took on the role to manipulate the masses and guide opinions. Example: the modern idea of breakfast is the most important meal was a marketing push in the early 1900s, bankrolled by food and sugar interests to move cereal, bacon, and orange juice that weren't in demand. But here's where it gets interesting. Their investments have also extended into modern technology. The Rothschild-affiliated investment firms have invested in Apple through diversified portfolios, alongside thousands of other institutional investors. While their exact stake remains private, because, of course, the Rothschilds love their secrecy, it's a testament to their adaptability. From 18th century banking to 21st century tech, they've stayed ahead of the curve because they have made the curve. So the next time you're scrolling on your iPhone, just remember, somewhere, the Rothschilds might be profiting off it. If the Rothschilds dominate finance, the Waltons dominate retail. Their empire?
A hockey stick, a Lego bucket.
Whatever they want for Christmas, you'll find it out.
Walmart, the largest retailer in the world with over 10,500 stores globally and millions of shoppers every day. It all started with Sam Walton, who opened the first Walmart store in Rogers, Arkansas in 1962. His principle? Efficiency. He revolutionized supply chains, cut costs to the bone, and turned low prices into his ultimate weapon. By the 1980s, Walmart was expanding aggressively, and by 1990, it became the largest retailer in the US. Today, the Walton family's combined fortune exceeds $225 billion, making them the richest family in the world. However, Walmart's success hasn't come without controversy. Critics accuse the company of low wages, long hours, and minimal benefits. Small businesses? Crushed. Entire towns? Decimated. Take McDonald, Ohio. When Walmart arrived in the early 2000s, the town's main street dried up in 18 months. 11 local stores closed, the town's tax base collapsed, and the high school lost 30% of its funding. Same story in Iowa Park, Texas. After Walmart opened in 1985, 60% of downtown businesses shut down within 5 years. Guthrie, Kentucky saw its grocery stores, pharmacies, and hardware shops vanish after Walmart came to nearby Clarksville in the 90s, hollowing out the local economy. And here's where things get even darker. The same low-cost, mass-produced food Walmart sells, critics argue it contributes to health issues like obesity and diabetes. And who profits from the healthcare solutions? Yep, we're walking in a circle right back to them. Critics estimate that in January 2026 alone, over $42 billion was spent in the US treating diet-related chronic diseases tied to ultra-processed foods, the same category that dominates Walmart shelves. For perspective, the CDC reports diet-related chronic diseases cost the US over $500 billion annually. The Waltons didn't just change how we shop, they changed how global commerce works. Next come the Rockefellers, the family that built one of history's greatest fortunes through oil. In 1870, John D. Rockefeller founded Standard Oil. Within 2 decades, it had grown to refine and market roughly 90% of the oil produced in the United States, making it one of the most dominant corporations of its era. In 1911, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that Standard Oil was an illegal monopoly and ordered it to be broken up into 34 separate companies. But rather than diminishing the Rockefeller fortune, the breakup significantly increased its value. John D. Rockefeller retained substantial shareholdings in the successor companies, and as their combined market value grew, so did his wealth. Many of those successor companies eventually evolved into energy giants such as ExxonMobil, Chevron, and Amoco, the latter becoming part of BP decades later. While George W. Bush may have been the poster child for putting a dollar tag on the oil barrel during the Iraq War, geopolitical analysts trace the architecture back further. The 1973 petrodollar agreement, where Saudi Arabia agreed to price oil exclusively in USD, was brokered by Henry Kissinger, a long-time Rockefeller protege. Some historians argue the plan was pushed by David Rockefeller and the Chase Manhattan banking circle to recycle OPEC dollars back into US banks and treasury bonds. Oil for dollars, dollars for power. It's the system today's wars are still fought around. By the mid-20th century, the family diversified into banking, real estate, and philanthropy. They funded public health initiatives, education, and science, but always with a strategic eye on maintaining influence. Major law? The Federal Reserve Act of 1913. The Rockefellers, through National City Bank and Chase, were key backers. It gave private banks control of U.S. monetary policy, a law that still shapes every dollar you touch. Today, the Rockefellers continue to be a dominant force in global finance and politics. Their name is synonymous with power, and their legacy is everywhere, from renewable energy projects to urban development. Now let's talk about the Maxwells, a family whose empire wasn't built to last. It starts with Robert Maxwell, a media tycoon who rose from nothing. He owned the Daily Mirror, Pergamon Press, and Macmillan Publishers, but behind the empire, corruption. In 1991, Maxwell fell off his yacht and died under mysterious circumstances. Accident? Suicide? Murder? No one knows. His empire collapsed and his debts surfaced. And then there's Ghislaine Maxwell. Yes, his daughter, who became infamous for her association with Jeffrey Epstein. Together, they built a network of abuse, exploiting young girls. In 2021, Ghislaine was convicted of sex trafficking, and her trial revealed ties to billionaires, politicians, and royalty. The Maxwells mastered media to manipulate perception. Robert used his papers to bury scandals and promote allies. Ghislaine used social access to launder reputations. Same playbook, different century. Finally, the Kochs. Charles and David Koch turned Koch Industries into a global giant. Their real power? Politics. They've spent billions funding think tanks, lobbying for deregulation, and shaping US policies. The 1996 Telecommunications Act. Koch-backed lobbyists pushed to deregulate media ownership, letting 6 companies control 90% of US media. The Kochs don't seek the spotlight. Their power works best in the shadows. The Rothschilds, the Waltons, the Rockefellers, the Maxwells, the Kochs. These families don't just attract wealth, they attract suspicion. Some say the Rothschilds control global banking. Others claim the Rockefellers orchestrate secret agendas. The Maxwells, their ties to Epstein fuel theories of espionage. While most of these claims lack evidence, one thing is clear: power breeds suspicion. The stories of these families aren't just about wealth. They're about power. The kind of power that shapes nations and rewrites history. And somewhere, right now, another family is rising, building their empire, writing their story. The question is, what kind of legacy will they leave, and how will it affect you?